Okay, we're beginning today on the Chavav Amar Aleph on the top. We finish with Ahmed Ben Khan.
Rafael Ben Shaya.
Rafael
Ben Shaya.
Ben Shaya. Okay, so yesterday we ended on the Daf Yomi Beit with a writer that said that if you have a house with a Sefer Torah Tefillin, it's asur l'shamesh bo et hamita until you take it out, or keli b'toch keli. And Abaye said that if the keli that is encasing the Sefer Torah or the Tefillin is a designated keli it's made for the Tefillin or the Sefer Torah, then 2 of those won't be considered 2. Even 10 of those will be considered 1. And if you need an 11th that is not has nothing to do with the tefillin and not its keli, to be considered to be a second keli. And then Rava said a cloth over the bookshelf, the Agash Svarim, that's already 2 keli, b'toch keli dami. So now we find something a little bit different. Amar Rabbi Moshe Medresh on the top. Sefer Torah tzarich lasot lo mechitza asara. Sefer Torah needs a mechitza asara. Sounds like if you don't have it, it's asur. Rashi says v'imlav lo yishamesh. Rashi says, okay, meaning a keli b'toch keli is not enough according to Rabbi Moshe Medresh. So the last Breita that we just had, is Rabbi Moshe Medresh arguing with that Breita. It said in the last Breita that you can either take them out of the home or put them in a keli b'toch keli. So he's learning that Breita is only referring to the tefillin. But a Sefer Torah, you need a mechitza b'asara. By the way, not only a Sefer Torah, but any other Tosfot says even chumashim also. But if you look in the halacha and Shulchan Aruch and Mishnah Berurah, there it says any sefer that's written on cloth that is rolled up has a halacha like a Sefer Torah, and a keli b'toch keli will not suffice. You'll need to make a mechitza asara, which is a 10 tefachim mechitza in front of the Sefer Torah. Mazuta ikla beravashi chazal duchte demar beravashi demalach bei Sefer Torah. But Mazuta visited the house of Ravashi. Chazal duchte demar beravashi. He saw the area, which means the area of his bed. And right there, in the place where Ravashi slept, there was a Sefer Torah lying there on some sort of surface. The Abed le mechitza asara. And Ravashi had made a mechitza asara. So Amar Lei, so Mazuta told Ravashi, Kiman, Rabbi Moshe Levi, are you trying to be machmir like Rabbi Moshe Levi, right? And not have it in the keli b'toch keli, but you're putting a mechitza instead of removing it from the room, which was the other eitzah. You say, no, I'm gonna leave it in the room, but I'm not gonna put it in the keli b'toch keli because that's not enough. Because if I want to leave it in my room, I put up a mechitza asara. He told him it's not correct. Why? Eimar de Amar Rabbi Moshe Levi. He said, when did Rabbi Moshe ben Levi say this halacha that a mechitza b'asara is good? There's no other house. But you have another room, so you don't have an excuse. Rabbi Moshe ben Levi's halacha is as follows: keli b'toch keli doesn't work. In your room doesn't work. You have to remove it from the room. You don't have another room? Okay, fine. Then I'll let you do 10 mechitza b'asara. But you have another room. So he's Amar Lei, so Ravashi said, Lavadatai, you're right. It wasn't on my mind, I didn't pay attention to this detail. And you're right. So, by the way, that's the halacha, that's the actual halacha l'maaseh. The Sefer Torah cannot be in your room. And the way the Mishnah Berurah is into there, which is Masha for the Rosh and Chai Adam, I don't think the Sfardim argue with this. It seems to me is that even any one of the Chav Dalet Svarim of Nevi'im or Ktubim that are written in a cloth form cannot be in your room. Even a Keli B'toch Keli. And even a Mechitza V'asara, if you let's say put some sort of curtain dividing the area of where people sleep and a person cannot be in a married person's room. Because it can't be Misharesh B'tatol there. If he has another room. And all of us have other rooms. So it seems like a Megillat Esther, that's where it would be applicable over here, because many of us have a Megillat Esther, cannot be in your room. Even if you have it in a drawer, in a bag, with a blanket, and another bag.
If you don't have a little...
If you have one room, then you can put then also Keli B'toch Keli, no masbik. You have to put a Mechitza Shel Asara.
Like a curtain.
Like a curtain. Yeah. Now, if you have printed Svarim, that would be, you could put it either in Keli B'toch Keli or Tefillin, Keli B'toch Keli, or Mechitza Asara for sure is good for them. But even Keli B'toch Keli is okay. So your Tefillin can be in your room if you have Keli B'toch Keli. Now what's Keli B'toch Keli? It's a good question in Tefillin. I have to look into it a little more because the backs of the Tefillin, first of all, even the Ritzuot, they're out of the box. The backs of the Tefillin is Kilyan. It's made for them. It's just like a wrapper. Then you have the bag that's made for them. So everything's made for them. It's only one, the Gemara said. You have to have another one. So if you put it in your drawer, that might be the second one.
So a regular Kumar, like regular Torah book.
A regular Torah book which is printed today doesn't have halacha like a sefer Torah, has halacha like tefillin. Which Keli B'toch Keli would be good, and for sure Mechitza Asara, 10 tefachim partition. Let's say you have a little bookshelf in your room with svarim like that. You have one of those, just one. So what you could do is you could put if you don't have a sheet that's 10 tefachim, which is 40 inches long, across the whole thing. You hold it up with some secular books on top. Probably you don't have any secular books, I hope, but whatever. You put some heavy weights on top of it.
What if it goes inside of a drawer?
So those you need more than one drawer because that's only one casing. If you put inside a sweater inside a drawer, that would be 2 casings. That would be okay. Let's go. You ready? Now the Mishnah said that before you say Kriyat Shema, how much do you have to distance yourself to say Kriyat Shema? For the Meir Aglaim and the Torah, 4 amot. Amarav Amarav Schora Amarav Huna Lashanu El Lachora. We've mentioned this before, but now it's saying it very clearly. 4 amot means get the Torah to be 4 amot behind you, which means walk in front of it. Aval Fanav, but if it's in front of you and you can't for some reason turn around, Machik Melo Enav. Let's say, for example, you're on your donkey, you're on your camel, and you're traveling. So, and you see that there's Torah coming in 200 feet. Now you're going to turn around. You can't turn around. You're going to be losing time. You have to be traveling that way. So you have to. So it doesn't help. Machik Melo Enav. You have to be so far that your eyes can't see. The Chayim Tefillah same halacha for Tefillah. Says the Gemara, is that true? A person can stand opposite a Beit HaKisei and pray. He doesn't have to distance himself, his entire vision. A Beit HaKisei, the halacha is halacha like Torah. Right? how could you pray opposite the Beit HaKisei? So the Gemara answers, Hacha b'may askilu b'Beit HaKisei she'en bo tzoah. We're talking about it was cleaned out. Okay? So now there's no tzoah. So therefore the Beit HaKisei doesn't have a halacha of tzoah mamash. Therefore you don't have to distance kimlo enough. That's the Gemara's answer. So the Gemara says, Amy, really? Are you telling me that a Beit HaKisei that they clear from tzoah doesn't have a halacha of tzoah? V'ha'amar Rav Yosef b'chanina Beit HaKisei she'amru af al pi she'en bo tzoah u'Beit HaMechat she'amru af al pi she'en bo adam. So the halacha of Beit HaKisei is even when there's no tzoah, you clear it out. So how can he pray opposite the Beit HaKisei? You have to be out of its vision. Okay? It must be that Rav Chisda, when he said that he prayed facing the Beit HaKisei, that meant a brand new Beit HaKisei, which means that it wasn't cleared out of Torah. It was never yet used for Torah. Then you're allowed to use it. So the Gemara says, really, this itself was a question by Ravina. His minu, if you make a brand new Beit HaKisei, and you designated it for that purpose, the Beit HaKisei Mahu. Yesh zimun, or en zimun. Is there zimun, which means does the designation render it to be a Beit HaKisei or not? So Ravina actually wasn't so sure that it wasn't the Beit HaKisei. He actually had a very strong side with the fact that it is the Beit HaKisei. So the Gemara says, so why are you so sure? Says the Gemara. Ki kalibayim Ravina. When did Ravina have this question? Says the Gemara, the Mekem alei l'tzui b'gavei. His question was, can I stand inside the room and pray there when I haven't yet used it? No one used it as a Beit HaKisei, but we designated it to be a Beit HaKisei. So then he wanted to know, maybe it already has a law of the Beit HaKisei. Aval kenegdo, but facing it, no. There, Ravina would admit and agree with Rav Chisda that, of course, facing it wouldn't be an issue, and you would be able to face it, and you wouldn't have to distance yourself kimlo enough. Okay? So now it would come out that not only could you face it, but it's possible that there's so many shonim that say that if it's just designated to be a Beit HaKisei, and you're facing, you could even maybe be within 4 amot. It's a shayla in the Achronim. Okay. Amarava, hani bate kisei de pasoi. Listen to this little halacha. You think it's a small little halacha? You'll see how pertinent it is to our days. This Persian bathroom. So, the Persian bathroom was as follows. It was like a hole in the ground, and they dug it, and the hole was 4 amot, and the hole was a slant. So anything that went in rolled down into the pit, and you wouldn't be able to see it. Even though there is tzoah deep down in the pit, kistumin damu, it's as if it's totally covered. And therefore that area is not a Beit HaKisei. You're allowed to say Kriyat Shema facing it. Wow. So, what about our bathrooms today? Our bathrooms are better than the Persian bathrooms. It's not just that it's down there but you don't see it. It actually gets washed and flushed down and cleaned. Many poskim say, therefore, I think, that our bathrooms don't have a halacha of the Beit HaKisei. There's no Beit HaKisei. So are you telling me now that you're allowed to go in there and say Shema Esrei and pray Kriyat Shema in our bathrooms? So there's a different issue in our bathroom. That the toilet is made out of kli cheres. It's not made out of metal or glass. Made out of earthenware. It has a nice shiny veneer, whatever it's called, the surface. But I think that the
Masechet.
toilet is a graf sharei and an oven shomayim. We had yesterday, Shomer Gleim, we had a chamber pot. The halacha of a chamber pot, even if it gets washed and cleaned, and it doesn't have anything inside it, the Gemara said, the embo klum has a halacha that you're not allowed to say Kriya Shema. So therefore, you would not be allowed to go in there and pray. However, so where would there be a nafkamina? Who cares if it's a beit hakise or it's just a graf sharei, a chamber pot? They have the same halacha. You can't say Kriya Shema. The answer is, but there's no tumah there. For example, if there would be a clean graf sharei, it was washed out in a person's dining room, clean. They washed it. So the halacha is, the Gemara said, you're not allowed to say Kriya Shema there. But are you allowed to? You're not allowed to say Kriya Shema within 4 amot of it. If it's facing you or like Torah. But is it an area that's tamei? Could I wash my hands there? Yeah, you can wash your hands there. There's no tumah in the area. It's your dining room. Just right in front of it, you can't say kriyat, you can't say holy words. You're shaming the words. Kidvar Hashem bazah. Ivahaya machanecha kadosh. In this area, which is the dining room, it's not entirely holy because you have something that has a din like so. But you can wash your hands there. So, therefore, our bathrooms, according to many poskim, you can wash your hands there.
Just a bracha there.
Just can't say a bracha because it's a graf sharei, but it doesn't have a din of a beit hakise. Okay? To the sugyot here. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, she'akol yodai. Okay. Zov, Dr. Heilige Mishnah says the Mishnah Kedosha. Zov Shalom Keri. A Zov, we did this every day. So this should be fairly easy. A Zov is a discharge from a man which is not Shichlat Zera, it's not Keri. Today it's not common to have it. Maybe people when they're sick, they might ask for interesting discharge. But by the way, if you have it when you're sick, that's one of the ways that you're not tamei. There are 7 ways they have to check every zav to see if it came from any of these 7 things that were the catalyst to bring it on. You're not tamei. If you ate too much, drank, exercised, thought about things, sick. So today it has to just come without any reason. That's too much. Anyways, you have this zav, and a zav has to wait. He's counting because he already saw 2-3 times in a row, which creates this chiyuv, this obligation to count 7 clean days. The 8th day he brings korbanot, and he can't go to a mikveh now. It's not going to help him anything. He won't be able to enter any holy place, the Beit HaMikdash, or eat truma, or eat sacrificial meat. Nothing. So truma is a joke. It's like not going to the mikveh. Excuse me, I said tuma. The mikveh is a joke. If he goes to the mikveh, won't help him. But now he sees Keri. Oh, Keri, Takanat Ezra. You know, let's say Divrei Torah, right? According to the Mishnayot here, they go with Takanat Ezra, right? Even if the halacha, strict halacha today, we don't work with these Mishnayot, right? Because we go like a Yehuda Mebeter. But these Mishnayot say Takanat Ezra. You're not allowed to say Tefillah, Torah, without going to the mikveh. So, the tumah of Zav that he had, he doesn't need to go to the mikveh to pray. He only has to go to the mikveh for deoraita. What's deoraita? Entering a holy area like the Beit HaMikdash, or eating holy items. But suddenly now he has Keri, he has a new issue. That there's a takana that he can't even pray. So how do you get out of takana? You go to the mikveh. So now, what is the mikveh going to help? You still have tumat zav. Or the next case, v'nida shepalta shichlat zera. She expelled shichlat zera. So now she has 2 tumot. Nida, which she has to wait 7 days. Mikveh won't help her. But now she wants to pray Shemona Esrei. V'hamishameshet. So she was mishameshet to the husband. Now she has tumat keri. Sherata nida, and then she saw nida. Tzrichin tvilah. They still need tvilah in order to pray. It's not useless. It's very beneficial. Let them go to the mikveh if they want to pray. They have to go. And it takes off the tumat keri. Even though you might say, well, it takes off the tumat keri. How can it take off the tumat keri if they're totally tameh? The answer is, for the tumat keri, it's good enough. But for Rabbi Yehuda Poter, Rabbi Yehuda says, if you want to say words of Torah, you don't have to go to the mikveh. Why not? Because I think the pshat in Rabbi Yehuda is that since it won't help, so then what are you going to do for the next 7 days? Not pray, not learn Torah? You're honest. Since you're honest, you pray. So the Gemara says, Ibaylahu, Al Keri Shiraz Diva, Rabbi Yehuda Ma'u Kipatar Ma'u. According to Rabbi Yehuda, what's the halacha? If you were first a Balkari, and then you became a Zav, do you say, Ki Patar Rabbi Yehuda Hatam Bizdav Shiraz Keri? Where does the Mishnah say you're Patur, where you were a Zav first, and then you still Keri? Because at first, you weren't able to go to the mikveh. Mikveh and you are a misfit at this point in time. So now that you see Keri, it's not going to make it better. At first, when he saw Keri, he didn't have any other tumah, so he was able to go to the mikveh. So maybe there, Michayev. So there he says, your mikveh actually is, you and mikveh have a relationship. Right now it's been disturbed by some other tumah called ziva. Okay, but the mikveh is still related to you in regards to the keri. Or dilma loshna, or maybe, no, there's no difference, even if the keri came first. Tashima, let's bring a proof from the Mishnah. The Mishnah has a very similar case. Hamishameshet v'ratani da'at tzricha tefillah. She was mishameshet, so she became tumat keri before the nidah. And even in that case, Rabbi Yehuda Poter, Rabbi Yehuda says patur. The hamishameshet v'rata nidah, that case, is kibal keri shirata ziva. Shiraz ziva. It's compared to a case of a balkeri that saw ziva, because in both cases, the tumat keri came before the other tumat. V'kapatar Rabbi Yehuda still says, patur, it doesn't help. Shma mina, that Rabbi Yehuda is poter even in such a case. And also we find, Tani Rabbi Chia be'edia, Bal Keri Shiraz Ziva, Tzarich Tvila, Rabbi Yehuda poter, he says it clearly that a Bal Keri that saw Ziva, the Tanakama says Chayav, and Rabbi Yehuda is poter in mikveh. That's another proof straight out. Hadran alach mishemetu, it's a great accomplishment. It was about 10 blot, 10 dapim, and they were equal to about 20 dapim, which is a huge parak in Shas. So, Mazal Tov. It says the Mishnah Tosha, everyone knows that there's a chiyuv to pray 3 times a day, and it's a machloket rishonim if tefillah in itself is a chiyuv d'oraita. Like it says, "Va'avadatem et Hashem Elokechem." The Rambam says that's a chiyuv d'oraita to pray. B'chol avavtem. The Ramban says that's not speaking about tefillah. Tefillah is d'Rabbanan. But everyone is in agreement that even if the Rambam that says tefillah is chiyuv d'oraita, it's only once a day, but there's no specific time or specific words. And actually, until the first Beit HaMikdash was destroyed, first Beit HaMikdash, people would just pray in their own words, whatever time they wanted, and as many times as they wanted. Maybe more than 3 times, less than 3 times. After the Galut Bavel, the purity of language was lost from the people, and Ezra and his Beitin were mitaken a nusach kavua. These were Nevi'im, the 120 people on the Anshe Knesset HaGdolah, and they made Shmona Esrei. The first three berachot are Shevach for Hashem, the last three are Hodaya, and the middle 13 are Bakashot. More than that, Ezra said that they have to be set in times that correspond to the korbanot in the Beit HaMikdash. Shachrit is Keneged Tamid Shel Shachar. Mincha is Keneged Tamid Shel Ben Arbayim, right? Because we brought two korbanot Tamid every day. And on days that you added a korban in the Beit HaMikdash, like Shabbat, Rosh Chodesh, and Yom Tov, you added Tfilah, which is korban Musaf. And Arvit, they were also mitaken, which corresponds to the burning of the limbs of Tamid Shel Ben Arbayim. Okay? So let's begin the perek. Says the Mishnah Kedusha, Tfilat HaShachar at Chatzot. Yehuda Omer at 4 shot. Tfilat HaShachar is till midday, and Yehuda says no. It's till the 4th hour of the day. Okay? So, the 4th hour of the day, Rabotai, is, how do you divide hours? It's 12 hours per day, regardless of the 60-minute hours. Which means if it's really, in the 60-minute hours, the hours that we count today, with, let's say there's 13 hours per day. So you divide the 13 hours into 12 parts. Which would be that every hour would be, instead of 60 minutes, 65 minutes. So at the end of 4 hours would be, at the end of 4 periods, that was 65 minutes long. So you have to add another 20 minutes, right? If let's say the day started at 6 o'clock, so, and the day ended at 7, just give an example, right? That's 13 hours. So the first hour of the day wouldn't end at 6 o'clock in the morning to 7 o'clock. No, it would end at 7:05. Because hours mean 12ths. That's what it means. So a 12th of 13 hours is 65 minutes. Because if you add 5 minutes to 12 hours, you'll get another hour. Correct? 12 times 5 is 60. So after the first hour is, let's say, from 6 o'clock to 7:05. The next hour would be, instead of 8:05, it would be 8:10. The next one would be 9:15. And the next one would be 10:20. So you have from 6 o'clock in the morning, that's the beginning of the Shachar, to pray. That's Netzach Hama, till 10:20. Not till 10. Got it? Okay, so that's 4 sha'ot, and you can always make this cheshbon. It's machloket achronim if it's from alot to tzeit or neitz to shkia. I was just doing right now neitz to shkia, for example. Okay? That's the Balatanya and the Vilna Gaon.
Does that correlate also with Shabbat or Shabbat ending? Is that a different thing?
Shabbat ending, no.
Rabbeinu Tam people hold it.
No, even if you don't go with Rabbeinu Tam, you still go with Tzeit HaKochavim, not Shkia. It's just the machloket when that takes place. The three, so that's where Rabbeinu Tam gets involved. But everybody agrees you can't just do Shkia. You need real Chashecha, real Erev. Okay, fine. So now, Rabbi Yehuda says till 4 sha'ot. Now, why are they arguing? Why is one saying chatzot and one saying 4 sha'ot? Why don't you just check? If it corresponds to the korbanot and the Tamid Shel Shachar, when does Tamid Shel Shachar end? Chatzot to 4 sha'ot. So we'll see Be'ezrat Hashem the Gemara why they argue. Okay. So that's enough. By the way, what's the psak halacha? We'll see. Do we do chatzot or arashot? You've heard both, no? So we'll see in a minute. We'll see. Tfilat al-mincha ad ha'erev. Mincha goes to the erev. Now Rashi, if you see, the first Rashi says ad chashecha. Whenever it says chashecha, that usually means tzeit hakochavim. Not just when the sun just begins to submerge, which we call it dips in shkia. No, chashecha means dark. It's so gone, the sun, that now you see the stars. the three real stars. That sounds like Tzeit HaKochavim to Rashi. So Rashi seems to be saying that you could pray Mincha till Tzeit HaKochavim. And there are many Shittot Rishonim like this. You see in Satmar, they'll pray Mincha. They're careful about times in Satmar. The other Hasidim are not so careful about times for whatever reason, but in Satmar they are. Yet they pray Mincha till Rebbeinu Tam. Very dark. You're like wondering, what are they doing? It's way after Shkia. Because there are Shittot that say that Mincha, like you see this Rashi might be one of them, is Ad HaErev doesn't mean Shkia. Other Rishonim say Ad HaErev till Shkia. And that's what we try to be very careful with this halakha. The Mishabur, whatever, and the Poskim even by the Sfardim. You can't say Mincha after Shkia. But others learn that this Mishnah means Ad HaErev means till it's very dark. Okay. Rabbi Yehuda Omer Ad Plaga Mincha, which is 1.25 hours of those hours that I told you, the 12 parts. 1.25 of them before the Laila, before the Shkia. You hear what I just said? You know what Plag is? Plag is 1.25 hours before sunset.
It's early.
Sun is shining. You can still get a suntan. Rabbi Yehuda says that's the end time to pray Mincha. He doesn't say none of these halachot yet have said when the starting point is. They said when the ending point is. Okay. Tfilat ha'erev. What about Arvit? En la keva. There's no specific time. You have the whole night. V'shel musafim. Kol hayom. The entire day. Okay? The entire day. Rabbi Yehuda Omer Asher Asher. Till 7 hours into the day. Okay? Now, the Mishnah doesn't speak about when Mincha begins, which is from 6.5 hours into the day. And we'll see, we'll talk about that a little later. So, okay. Rabotai, you ready? Let's get into it. Let's ask some questions here. Otherwise, if I would be quiet now and stuff falling asleep, we have to talk, we have to get into it. Ready? It's delicious, delicious Gemarot. It's delicious. Reminu, mitzvata im ne'anetzach hama, kedei she'yismor gula l'tfilah, v'nentzah mitpalel bayom. There's a brayta that says that the mitzvah is to pray, to say Kriyat Shema, right before Netzach Hama, so that you can end up saying Shmona Esrei right when the Netzach Hama, when the sun comes out. Now, what's so great about that? What's great about that is that since you want to pray the moment you're allowed to pray, the moment you should be praying, and right before you pray, you say the bracha of Gula. So now you'll be somech Gula l'tfilah. And then you'll be praying Bayom right after Netzach Hama. It's beautiful. So what do we see from here? We see that the time to pray every morning, Shacharit, is Nimtza mitpalel Bayom, the moment that the day breaks, the day begins. So how does the Mishnah over here say? You have till Chatzot. Rabbi Yehuda says, no, only 4 hours. What 4 hours? What Chatzot? Right away, right when the day starts, you have to pray. So the Gemara answers, Kitan Yahid Vatiki. That Braita is talking about those humble people that love mitzvot and love to do mitzvot at the best time, the most opportune and best time, and they're very humble. Rashi said before, so therefore they run to do mitzvot in the best time. So they should pray right away. But the Amar Rabbi Yochanan Vatikin hayugomrin ota im hanetzach hama. Vatikin would finish Kriyat Shema with the berachot right by Netzach Hama, so that they could say Gal Yisrael right by Shmona Esrei. But the Kulei Alma, but the rest of the world, they pray later. That's fine. Ad Chatzot v'Tulo. They have until Chatzot, and not more than that. or according to Rabbi Yehuda, till 4 hours. Okay? Now, that doesn't mean that, don't forget, all of you pray Netz, right? They pray Netz here. Amazing. So that's Vatikin over here. And the Gemara says, if you pray Vatikin, then the smile, remember that Manda Amr? The Gemara said, no smile left his mouth the whole day. You'll be very happy. That's one of the segulot to be happy. I asked the Breslov guy last night. He was in my helm, and I asked him, "Are you really happy? Are you really happy? Or you have to be happy because you're Breslov. That's you have to. It's like your hat. You have to wear that now. And if you are really happy, then tell me, is it maybe just your natural disposition? Or is it because you actually worked on it? From the Sfarim of Reb Nachman, Bitachon, and Simcha. I was krichin arayin, being gesagt in Yiddish. I was being very nosy because he was such a type. He was such a person that allowed you to ask that, and I wanted to learn. So he said to me, I once told people why I get happy, and they were very upset with me in Shemayim. They gave me very strong reproof, whatever the story was. So I don't answer that question anymore. But I'll tell you a few things. Not about myself, but a few things in general. And one of the things he said was this Gemara he quoted, that he says if you pray with nates, your smile never leaves your mouth. So I say, oh, you mean you pray nates? He said, what's talking about me now? I'm just telling you a trick. And he said also, Yismach Leiv Mivakshe Hashem. Who has a glad heart? Those who seek out Hashem. If you think about Hashem a lot, you'll be happy. Okay, anyways, back to our program over here, Gemara.
No, there's one more.
Oh, one more.
You go to Uman for Rosh Hashanah.
Uman Rosh Hashanah.
Small Kol Hashanah. It's automatic.
What's that?
Obviously, small Kol Hashanah.
Kol Hashanah, Uman Rosh Hashanah. Be there this year, Tafshin. Hey, Aleph. I'm not going to be there probably. Unless Mashiach comes, and then of course we're all going to be in Uman for Rosh Hashanah.
You
Just to pray for it. Yeah, that's a good phrase. Okay, so the Gemara says, oh really? You're telling me, so what's the end game? What's the last moment you could pray Shacharit? You said what? Hatzot, which means Rabbi Yehuda says 4 hours. But what's like the max? Like, is anybody arguing with him? Yeah, the first mandam, the first words. Tfilat Hashanah ad Chatzot. Till Chatzot. Wow, till midday. Nothing more? You can't pray Shacharit after Chatzot? Says the Gemara, you could. I'll show you where you could. Because Rabbi Yochanan says, Vatikin ayu gomrin ota im hanetzach. Excuse me, I just read the wrong line. Says the Gemara, Amar Rab Mari b'rei Rav Huna b'rei Rav Yirmiyah bar Abba. Amar Rabbi Yochanan. Rav Mari, the son of Rav Huna, the son of Rav Yirmiyah, the son of Abba. From that point on, Schar Tfilah Yavidei, Schar Tfilah Bizman Ado Yavidei. Okay? They're only going to give you schar of tefillah when you make up the tashlumin. But you're not going to get the schar of praying at the right time. So our Mishnah is speaking about the prayer in its right time. That is machloket if it's till chatzot or till dalet shaot. The halacha, rabotai, lemaaseh, we'll see about it later on, is that we go till dalet shaot. Okay? If you didn't pray till dalet shaot, then you could pray till chatzot. Yeah.
What would be right now?
What time is Netzach Hamad today?
That's
7:06. 7:06. Let's just call it 7:05. Okay. What time is Shkia? Shkia today. What time was Shkia last night? 5:45.
5:55.
5:55. 5:55.
Right, no?
So what's 7:05 to 5:55? How many hours is that? Regular hours. 7:05 to 5:55. You're missing an hour and 10 minutes. That means that our hours now, since we're in the winter, are shorter than 12 hours. They're missing 70 minutes. Which means if it would be a perfect day, there would be another 70 minutes added to the day. So the hours, our 12 parts, are missing 70 minutes. So if you have to, what's 12 into 70? Almost 6. So you have to knock off almost 6 minutes from every hour. So every one of these 12 hours would be 54 minutes, about. A little bit less. It would be more like 55 or 54 and a half minutes. So now, what was your question? What is 4 hours? So if it started at 7:05, and every one of those hours is really 6 minutes behind, so what you do is a very quick way is you do 4 of those hours, like 7:05 to 8:05 to 9:05 to 10:05 to 11:05.
That's 6 times 4 is 24.
Minus, because each one was really short, I gave them full 60 minutes. Now you minus off 24 minutes from 11:05, so it's going to be 10:40. It's going to be 10:41, 10:40, and also you didn't tell me exactly what time. I thought you said 7:06. So check out on your thing if we're right. If Zman Tefillah today is 10:40 or 10:41.
When I say roughly, I mean
It's like 9:50.
No, Zman Tefillah, not Zman Kriyat Shema.
Latest Shachrit,
Yeah.
10:44.
10:44. I said 10:41 because what time is it? 10:44?
Well, it says latest Shachrit is Gra.
Yeah, Gra. That's what I was just doing. The Gra's cheshbon. Why was I up by 3 minutes? Because maybe I was off by a minute here and a minute on the end of the day. And that too, you could do it anyway, even if you don't have your app. If you have your cup, you have your what's cup. You can do it. You just know this cheshbon about that. You figure out how many hours, divide it, and you remember this Mishnah. Adal Shal. Okay, let's go back. Says the Mishnah.
Rabbi, if you did it at 10:48, that you did tefillah, what does that mean? You're out?
You didn't get schar tefillah bismana because we paskin like Rabbi Yehuda. You should still pray till chatzot. You better pray, but we'll talk about it later because we don't have so much time now. What about the berachot of Kriyat Shema? Could you say them anymore at 10:48?
Yes.
Not so simple that you could say them.
Chabad do it.
I don't know about Chabad. I just don't know. I can't. There might be different minhagim and stuff like that. I can't answer to everyone. I'm telling you what I see in the.
Chabad they do Shema before in the house,
When they do.
and then they come to Sinai at 10 and they start the prayer, but they get to Shema like about maybe I don't have a prayer, but maybe 10:45.
It could be there's a difference between b'mezid and b'shogig, and that would be b'mezid because they're specifically doing it. That might also be a difference. We're going to talk about that. Those halachot. We'll go through the bria halacha later on. I just want to try to get. We have about 15 minutes. It's a very easy amud. That's why I was spend time a little bit, but we have to do it now. We don't want to get behind, even more behind. Okay, so it says like this. Ibaylu, they asked the question. Ta'avad lo hitpalel micha. Ma'u she'hitpalel abed bet. The only one that Rabbi Yochanan didn't mention was in the sentence that he said, if you forgot mincha, can you pray 2 avit? So you're thinking to yourself, why not? Why would it be different than if forgetting 2 avit or forgetting 2 shachrit? So the Gemara says, Im tintzalon ta'avot lo avit mitpalel shachrit bet mishum dechad yomi. There, when you forgot avit and you do 2 shachrit for it, it's because it's the same day. Fine. But here, tefillah is in place of a korban. Like we said, Ezra was mitaken that you should pray at the times of the korbanot to correspond. So the law is the kivan the avar yomo batel korbanot. If you have a korban today of musaf of Shabbat, and chas v'shalom the Beit Hamikdash, it turns into Sunday and they forgot to bring the korban musaf. Could they still bring it? No. Avar yomo batel korbanot. Over and done. So therefore, since Mincha and Avit are two separate days, it's not part of the same day. So therefore, maybe your korban is gone. Or maybe no. It's true that it corresponds to korbanot, but the main component of tefillah is not bringing korbanot, right? It's true that we are bringing korbanot with our lips, but what is tefillah really about? The Gemara says maybe tefillah's main aspect, main fact, component is kivan tzlot rachamehi. It's about mercy, about connection, about supplications, begging, about asking Hashem, connecting to Him. So then, so that whenever you want, you can pray, which means, although there are set times, but if you forgot Mincha, you can make it up the next day, which is that night, with Avit. So the Gemara brings a proof. He said, Rabbi Yochanan said straight out, if you didn't pray Mincha, pray to Avit, and don't worry about Aver Yamo, Batel Kabbalah. Okay? You don't have to worry about it. Says the Gemara, Today I have a problem with all these halachot of tashlumin, of makeup. The pasuk says in Kohelet, "Muvat lo yichal litkom," an avera that you can't fix, v'chesron lo yichal imanat. And they expound that what was Shlomo Melech talking about? This loss that you can't count, and this avera that you can't correct. What is it referring to? So they said, "Muvat lo yichal litkom zeh shebitel kriyat shema shel avit u'kriyat shema shel shacharit." If someone is mivatel the kriyat shema of the morning and night, or tefillah shel avit, or tefillah shel shacharit, or the amidah of the night or the day, that's an avira that you can never fix. One second, you can never fix. The chesron lo yuchal limanot, a loss that you can't count up again. Zeh sheninucha v'yad l'dar mitzvah. His friend said, "Come and join us to do a mitzvah." He didn't count himself amongst them. He refused. So he can never be counted again, and he can never fix this, because the mitzvah was already done through his friends. But what do we see here? The first part of the pasuk said that you know what an avera that you can never correct is? If you were mevatel shacharit or avit. What do you mean? Rabbi Yochanan taught us halacha here that there's something called tashlumin. You can make it up, so you could fix it. That pasuk is referring to someone who's mevatel b'meizid. He doesn't have makeup times, which means if a person goes to sleep at night, he says, "Let me just go to sleep a little bit. Hopefully, I'll wake up to the avit," and he doesn't. The next morning, he can't make it up because he was negligent. Didn't happen by mistake, inadvertently, or honest. And that's the halacha. And it's actually very, very, the grammar was clear in that braita, because it said bitel. He's mivatel, he stopped it, he nullified it, he didn't care. It didn't happen to him. Shema mina, Tanu Rabbanan, says the Gemara, let's turn the page, Ta'avelo Yitpalel Michamer Shabbat, Mitpalel, Bilel Shabbat, Shtayim. If someone made a mistake and he didn't pray Mincha on Erev Shabbat, so you know what he does? He prays 2 tefillot that night of Shabbat. Even though the prayer that you're going to pray is a prayer of Shabbat, and what you missed out on was a prayer of Chol, you still pray those.
The Shabbat one.
The Shabbat one. And what's the reason? The reason is because even the Shabbat, during Shabbat, we should really be praying the whole thing. But the Chachamim want to do a person a favor on Shabbat and not bother. So the Tashlumin is the same thing. They don't want to bother you. They make up. And that's what the Mepharshim say. That's why you pray 2 of Shabbat.
What do you mean by bother?
It was a tircha because it's Shabbat and a person, it was kavod for Shabbat. That a person has time for his Suda, and his mind is it's more enjoyable. You don't enjoy the Tefillah on Shabbat?
Yes.
We're getting out in 3 minutes.
I don't know what show you go to.
No, meaning after the Shemona Esrei starts. It's only 5 minutes. It's a shorter thing. Okay. It might have more of a beer. I don't know. Ta'avalo itpalel mincha b'Shabbat, itpalel b'motzei Shabbat, shtayim shachor. Okay. What about mincha on Shabbat? Person forgot. So he prays 2 tefillot of Avit Shachor. One for Avit and one for mincha. When he does so, the first one is always the one of that specific time, which means the first one answer is it's Avit now, it's for Avit. It's not for the Tashlum. The second one is the makeup. Okay? So Mavdil Barishona. Be'enu Mavdil Bashniya. You say Havdalah, the Atachon Antanu, in the first one, because that's the Tefillah of Avit, of Motzei Shabbat. The second one is Tashlumin, so you don't have to be Mavdil, because the Tashlumin doesn't need Havdalah. And you already did Havdalah. Okay? And now, even though you always repeat the exact same Shemona Esrei, but Atachon Antanu is not part of the actual Shemona Esrei, it's just an insertion which they inserted for Havdalah. What happened if you did it the opposite way? He did the Havdalah in the second one. Then Shniyah Altalo, Yishana Lo Altalo. You only have one Shemona Esrei. The first one doesn't count. And now you have to pray a second time, which is going to be a third Shemona Esrei that you pray. What's the reason for that? So the way Rashi explains with the Hagot Abach, the way he explains Rashi is as follows. Because when you started the first one, it wasn't for Tashlumin. Your mind was, tonight, now it's not my Tashlumin one, it's my Chova one, the one that I have to pray for Avit. So, it didn't work. You know why it didn't work? Because you didn't say Atachon Antanu. Okay? So now the second one will be for Shabbat. And you know how? Why is the second one for, the second one, is for what? Is for Tashlumin. Now, why isn't the second one for Shabbat, for Motzei Shabbat? It should be for Motzei Shabbat, but since I forgot the first one, so in the first one I forgot Atachon Antanu. So let the second one be L'Shem Shabbat, because I didn't say the Tashlumin before the Chovah. The halacha is that the Tashlumin always comes after the Chovah. So if the Tashlumin comes after the Chovah, and the first one I wanted to make L'Shem Chovah, so the second one is going to be for the, what are you going to say it's for? What would you say the second one's for? I didn't say Atachon Antanu on the first one. For the makeup. But you can't do the makeup before you do the Chovah. And since the first one didn't work, so the second one is for the Chovah. And how do I know? Because he said Atachon Antanu. So he's showing that he wants it for the Chovah. So now so the second one becomes number one now. And now he has to pray a third one to be number two. So the Gemara says, are you telling me the first one doesn't count? Because you didn't say Havdalah, so it's like you didn't pray. And therefore you make him pray another time. I'll ask you a question. If a person did not say Morid Geshem, in the 9th bracha, machzirino till they make him go back. But Havdalah b'chonen adat, if you forgot Havdalah b'chonen adat, they don't make him go back because he's able to say it on the coast. So we see that if you forgot Havdalah in Shmona Esrei, in Amidah, it's still considered a Shmona Esrei. So therefore, if the guy forgot to have Dalah in the first one, let it still be considered that he was Yotzei Chovah. And the second one is really the Tashlumin, and let it work. And so the Gemara says Kasha. It's a good Kasha. Now, whenever it says Kasha, it means that there's an answer. Okay? Many times. Because it's not a Tiyufta. At this time, there was no answer. And actually, they do answer it in the Rishonim, the Gonim. And the Shulchan Aruch is posek, like the first bright, even though there's a kasha. And the answer is because they say like this, since you were mavdil in the second one, so you showed clearly that you want the second one to be your first. Because you said out loud. Okay? And that's how they want to answer. Itmar, it was stated, Rabbi Yossi ben Rabbi Chanina Amar, Tfilot Avot Tiknun. The Tfilot were fixed and made by the Avot. Avram Avinu, Yitzchak and Yaakov. Rabbi Shua ben Levi Amar, Tfilot Keneged Tridin Tiknun. Rabbi Shua ben Levi says they were made Keneged the Tridin. Tanya Kavatet Rabbi Yossi ben Rabbi Chanina, but Tanya Kavatet Rabbi Shua ben Levi. We have a brighter showing that it was really made by the Avot, like Rabbi Yossi ben Rabbi Chanina, and one like Rabbi Shua ben Levi. Tanya Kavatet Rabbi Yossi ben Rabbi Chanina. What is that? Avraham Tiken Tfilat Shachrit. It says so. Shenema vayashkem Avraham baboker ela makom asher amad sham. To the place where he had stood, the ein amidah ela tfilah. Shenema vayamod Pinchas vayifaleh. Because we find that Pinchas, the language of vayamod, amad, like we call it amidah, is tfilah, because it says Pinchas stood vayifaleh and he prayed. Yitzchak Tiken Tfilat Pinchas. Shenema vayitzei Yitzchak nastuach basadeh lefnot arif. Before nighttime, he went out to the field to speak. The Ein Sicha, the language of speaking, is El Tfilah. Shenemar Tfilah le'ali ki ya'atov. V'lifnei Hashem, before Hashem, yishpoch sicho. He pours out his speech. So we see that speech of Yitzchak was Tfilah. Yaakov tiken Tfilat David. Shenemar Yivga b'makom v'yon sham ve'ein pigia. He met up with the place, means Tfilah El Tfilah. Shenemar ve'ata. Pasuk in Yomi says, Al titpalel ve'adam hazeh. Ve'al tiseh ba'adam rina u'tfilah ve'al tifga bi. Hashem says to Yirmiyah, don't pray for the Jews, and don't tifga bi. Don't hurt me, don't hit me, don't bump into me, which means don't with your prayer. Okay? So that's like Rabbi Yossi ben Chanina, that it was made by the Avot. The Tanya Kavatet of Yeshua ben Levi, that it actually corresponds, and it was made because of the Korbanot, is because the Braita says, why is Tfilat HaShachar go till Chatzot? Sharei Tamid Shel Shachar Kareh ve'olech ad Chatzot. Tamid Shel Shachar is till Chatzot. Rabbi Yehuda Omer ad Arba Shaot. You know why? Sharei Tamid Shel Shachar Kareh ve'olech ad Arba Shaot. Because the Tamid Shel Shachar, according to Rabbi Yehuda, was Kareh ve'olech till the 4th hour. So everything corresponds to the Korbanot. And since it was Nitkan, it was fixed according to the Tamid Shovei Abayim, so you only have to let it. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Ad Plag Mincha. We'll see soon why. Sharei Tamid Shovei Abayim Kareh ve'olech Ad Plag Mincha. You can only bring the Tamid Shovei Abayim according to Rabbi Yehuda till then. Therefore Mincha goes till then. Because what does it correspond to? The Evareh of the Olah and the fats of all the Korbanot that are placed on this Berach, that were not yet consumed by the fire, before the night, they can go the whole night. So therefore you have Arvit the whole night. So Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Ad Sheva Shaot, Sharei Korban Musaf Kareh ve'olech Ad Sheva Shaot. So everything is exactly mirrors the time in the Beit HaMikdash. Ve'ezu hi mincha gdola, says the Braita. When is the time that's called Mincha Gdolah, which is the earliest time that you're able to bring Tamid Shobein Ha'arbaim. Okay? That means, Mincha Gdolah means when the day is still great. Mishesh Shalot U'Metzel L'Mala. From 6.5 hours in. The Ezuhi Mincha Ktana. And what is the normal time that they brought the carbon Tamid in the Beit HaMikdash? That's Mincha Ktana. Later on a normal day, they brought it Mitesha Sha'ot U'Metzel L'Mala. After 9.5 hours into the day. The earliest time they were able to bring it, and some days during the year they brought it then, let's say Erev Pesach and Erev Shabbat, all those days that were very, very busy, they were able to bring it from the 6.5 hours in, which would be a half an hour after Chatzot. Okay? Because that's when the sun starts to turn west. Okay? In the middle of the day, then after 6 hours, it's smack in the middle of the sky. Okay? Some say that's only Midrabanan, but really Midoraita, you can do it from Chatzot. Okay? But the Chachamim said half an hour after Chatzot. And 9.5 hours after the beginning of the day is the time that it was normally actually brought on the Mizbeach, because 8.5 hours is when they actually slaughtered it, and they brought the blood 9.5 hours. Okay? So that's Mincha Ktana. So now the Gemara goes back and asks about, I think we should stop here now.
Yes.
Rabbi Yehuda, the Gemara has a question about Rabbi Yehuda.
That's what.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.